quick recap. We went through, we copied our template folder, and we renamed the template folder to this extras. Then we came in here and looked for all the files and replaced all of the what was it, creature name strings, and that was all we did. There's a bunch of stuff in here, and we're going to get to that. But first, all that work we just did of replacing strings, however you want to do it, let's see if it worked. If we did it right at this point, it doesn't take long to get to this point. We can run Starbound. So back to our Starbound folder under Steam, if you have the Steam version or wherever you put it. In my case, I'm running a 64-bit, depends on what you're doing, but there's a starbound.exe somewhere in either Win32 or Win64 or your Linux version, I forget what it looks like. I'm going to run the Win64 version. You'll notice I'm not running Steam. Again, you do not have to run Steam to run Starbound, hopefully. I sure hope that doesn't change. Blah, 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 blah. We wait for Starbound to kick in. If we did our work, Starbound should actually pop up and run, and then, you know, here's me wasting some time walking over to the food hall instead of using a teleport command. Whoop-de-doo. Let's see if it lets me. If our work worked, then what some of these files over here... The files where you have the item builder allows it to actually construct an item with memory. The file in the recipes folder... Oops. Where am I going? I could have just done this on the ship. I'm a moron. Whee. Oh well. We have the VSO tab. If we did our work, then we should see our flap plant. So if you did everything correctly at that point of just replacing strings, you should be able to immediately go to the store and buy it. Huzzah. Back to ship. Oh, come on. Let's see. Now I have our fancy Z ground plant. There it is in all its glory. Beautiful. And I think you can get eaten by it. Wow. Whatever. So there's that. So we have it working in-game immediately. This is good. Now we can leave Starbound running if we want. Although I probably should go kill my Vore NPCs before things get too weird, right? I'm sure you all have that problem with testing. You don't live here anymore. Alright, now we can just leave that running. So, we have now successfully got our version of this creature in-game. Now what do we do? Now we want to get it to do something. So, at this point, we might have to do some spriting. Obviously, that's not what I want. So I'm going to break the video here and make it into chunks. And alright, we're back. So, let's start poking sprites. That's the thing everyone is always asking me about. So, I have this A sprite included with the template. Again, for the previous video, we renamed this and everything works in the game. Whoop-de-doo, there's our fancy plant that doesn't exist yet. So, now we got to give it some graphics. How to navigate this program. So I'm scrolling with the mouse wheel. I can hold down spacebar and left drag to pan. This part gets a little screwy. Obviously, if you hover over these things, it'll tell you what the shortcut is, so I can quickly swap, you know, EB. Unfortunately, I don't know what that shortcut for changing this size is. It's annoying. See, I'm not even on the... So I could just come in here and left drag and click delete and remove those frames. Let's start with some... Alright, we're going to make a plant, so I don't like this being this color. If you try and do this, you'll be immediately frustrated and unhappy that it doesn't understand that you're editing the colors. You got to actually go to the palette editor, which is this little guy. And then you click on the cell you want, or swatch if you're one of those people. I like hue, saturation, brightness. I'll make it green. Click, we'll make it green. We'll make it green or yellow, because if it gets lighter, it should be a little bit more yellowish, blah, blah, blah. Who cares? Okay, we got green, and I want the innards of Mr. Plant. We'll leave it as is. Alright, save. You'll notice I dragged the AE sprite into AE sprite. So that way I can just start saving it and I'm immediately working. So this is nice, but I have no idea how big the victim is. So if I make like a plant of some kind, what's it gonna look like in game? I could be aggressive and be like, save, file, export sprite sheet. Always 10 columns, people. Export. Yes. Save. And then, check this out. So if I'm like, /reload, then you wait a few seconds, and lo and behold, your updates will be in-game. Theoretically. Sometimes this crashes Starbound, sometimes it makes a good log file. Hey look, that thing I just did. It broke something. Wow. Awesome. Looks like it's working to me. So you don't have to close Starbound and open it to actually edit stuff live in Starbound. That's kind of really cool. Much appreciated. It's slow, but it works. So you'll notice that when I so aggressively made this piece of crap plant, oh my, it's kind of huge. I don't like that. You know me. You know what I like. So how do I know how big the character is? Well, luckily there's this layer down here where I've conveniently shown you how big my shadow is for default hilotl or whatever in PC. Well, okay. So let's try this again. If I wanted a plant, I don't want to copy that awesome plant that's already in the Starbound Vore mod because, well, that would just be uncool. I want to get the ground one. So if I want the flappy ground plant, it's going to be something like this. Notice that this fill is kind of G-ish, and there's this crappy grid. Why is there a grid? I hate that grid. Grid. Where are you? Show extras. Take off those extras. I don't want them. So if I have a front, I'm going to need a back. It's like, alright. So I drew some leafy things. That's not very good, is it? So, what do we gotta do? We gotta go in, and then, if you're spriting stuff, it's good to make the shadows first, so we'll just start there and worry about shading later. It's like, well, how do I know what the previous frame looked like? Is there an onion skin option? There is! This little guy in your timeline, if I remember how to do it. Where's onion skin? Amazingly enough, I've not used this enough to memorize its keys. There it is, show onion skin. So view, show onion skin. So it's pretty intuitive. It's like, okay, well, I'm gonna make a slightly moving plant so that you know that it's alive. Whoop-de-doo. It's alive and you probably don't want to step on it. You notice I'm not caring about aesthetic here. You don't have to make it right the first time. Your real goal is to make the shadow of this thing first in just a solid color, and then go in and edit it later. It's like, that's enough to let me know it's moving. Alright. Don't care about those labels. I now know that this is the full state. So let's see. See, this one might get a little bit confusing. So we're going to fill it with the not so dark color. You'll notice that I am using just the 4 colors. The ultimate goal is to try and, you know, match the aesthetic of the Starbound game as much as possible. So That's the objective here. I know you didn't watch this tutorial to watch me just draw some crummy pixels, but that's happening. Sometimes this stuff is important for people to see. Not everybody has a good concept of how this works. Alright, so now we got the simplest of all possible plants. And here's something interesting. It's like, well, I filled it with the wrong color, but I really just only want to fill the interior. Is there a way to do that? If you click on this thing, there's some ways to do that. Magic wand tool. So if I click on this, it'll select the pixels, and then I believe I can contract one pixel, and then I can just simply fill that area, and life is good. Go to the next one. Control D will deselect, or you can go to select, deselect, select, contract. Yes. G, click, click, Control D. Next layer, click. You'll notice that if you're doing pillow shading or some other things, this would be really handy. Anyone who's used a photo editing program is used to this kind of thing, but not everyone has, so there's lots and lots and lots of options you can do that are creative with dealing with selections and whatnot. But we all know that I just screwed up because these leaves actually connect kind of down like this, so I need to make sure that that's emphasized, or it won't have any depth to it. I also might have just screwed up because I now have filled on my front layer instead of my back layer, which I'll have to go fix that at some point. Let's just fix it now. You screw up, it's no big deal. It happens all the time. If you're me, what do you do? Go to the back. We'll do the same process, because why not? I wish I knew the shortcut for this. You'll notice that the time you spend clicking is really cutting into your art time. If you can figure out and learn the shortcut keys, you can be more creative faster, which is what you want to be. You don't want the program to be interfering with what you're doing or how you're thinking about what you're creating. Alright, you'll notice these convenient little eye buttons let me show and hide layers, but if you hide them but don't lock them, you can still delete them. So if I accidentally hid this layer and started erasing arbitrarily, I might have destroyed my top layer, so watch out for that. Use the lock if you don't want to be editing it. Alright, let's hide that victim, and let's, for now, export sprite sheet. Again, 10 columns, yes. Slash reload. So using AE Sprite, there's a lot you can do here, but I don't know of anything that can help with the shading, to my knowledge. I mean, part of this is, what I did here isn't right. Hey look, a snap plant. If I interact with it, oh no, whoop-de. So, you've now made a thing in Starbound. And that took us less than 30 minutes of tutorial time to set that together. But it doesn't look right. It looks like crap. So how do we match that Starbound to what we've got in game? And that's a whole different lesson, but some of the basics. It's good to make at least one solid frame first. So let's start fine-tuning this start fine-tuning what we've got here. We've basically got the idea right. So now we're going to be using I and B and E a lot, because I will let me pick a color I've already placed. B will let me draw that color. I like this, I like how this works.